guys, and welcome to today's quick chat. Today we're talking about new nurse anxiety and how to fight it. Anxiety is something that most nurses deal with, and the root of it is new job anxiety. For new nurses, this can be amplified by the amount of things that you have to learn and do as a new nurse. There's a huge gap between what you know, your knowledge base as a nursing student, and where you need to be as a new nurse to successfully navigate the workplace in your new specialty. A lot of times as new nurses, we are terrified within this knowledge gap of all the things that we just don't know. And this can cause a lot of our new nurse anxiety. So let's talk about some tips and tricks for fighting new nurse anxiety. Tip number 1, dig deep into the root of your anxiety. Is there a specific situation or skill that you are really anxious about? You can do research on it and kind of mind map that situation out so that you know what to expect if you ever encounter it. For example, if you are absolutely terrified about starting IVs, by doing research on starting IVs and how to start one safely, as well as by watching other people do them, it kind of will help get rid of the what if situation and the what if anxieties that can kind of pop up along the way. By feeling more prepared for a situation, you will automatically start to decrease some of the anxiety that comes up when you start to think about that situation or skill. Tip number 2, create and practice routines. Routines are great for cutting down on new nurse anxiety because when you build routines, they create a specific way of how to do things, which will eliminate the what if or the what's next feeling that creates a lot of the anxiety that new nurses face. So find different things, different activities, and things that you do on your day-to-day routine as a new nurse, and find ways to create routines to get those things done. By doing them in a routine, it will allow you to do things the same way every single time. Additionally, this will help you to cut down on forgetting different steps and possibly making mistakes. My next tip is to have healthy coping mechanisms. Now, sometimes when we go into situations, we don't really think in advance about the anxiety and angst that we can feel or that it may create in our lives. But by creating healthy coping mechanisms and creating stress mechanism response plans, you are already thinking ahead what you are going to do when you feel stressed out by the situation. Additionally, by having these things prepared, when the situations pop up, you won't revert into bad coping mechanisms or into previous bad habits. You will automatically know this is what I will do if I start to feel stressed. I will take a break, I will breathe, I'll close my eyes and count backwards from 10 back to 0, or whatever it is that you have that is a coping skill and coping mechanism to get through the stressful situation and anxiety that will pop up. Additionally, by having healthy coping mechanisms outside of work, you're setting yourself up mentally and physically for success. Doing things like spending time with family or taking up a hobby, whether it be skateboarding or knitting, is going to help to relax your mind on a daily basis. Now, adding those things to your daily routines are going to help to alleviate your stress level to where you're not stressed about work while you're at home. Also, you can add those things even on days that you do work to decrease your amount of stress once your shift is over, or maybe at the beginning of your day prior to going into work. My next tip is to practice positive self-talk. Now, of course, a lot of people, when they hear positive self-talk, they think of positive affirmations, and that's just one part of it. Practicing positive self-talk also has to do with how we talk to ourselves, and that may include how you talk to yourself after you make a mistake or when you don't know something. Instead of saying things like, man, I feel stupid, I'm so dumb, or I can never get this right, flip that into something positive like, wow, this is a great learning opportunity. I'm excited about practicing this skill so that I can improve it. Because the way that you talk to yourself is always on repeat in your mind. So the more positive thoughts that you have about yourself and about your experiences, the less anxious you will feel about repeating those experiences. And I'll give you a great example of this. When I was a new nurse, after trying to start an IV 3 times and failing, I started telling myself I suck at IVs. Whenever people would ask, hey, can you help me start an IV for my patient? I would say, no, you don't want to ask me. I suck at IVs. But the reality is that there's not many people in the world that can do a difficult skill like starting an IV after 3 times and have it perfectly down pat, right? So to be honest with you, it wasn't the fact that I sucked at IVs. The real root of it was that I hadn't practiced them enough. So once I changed my thinking about starting IVs and I really started to tell myself I need more practice, when people would ask me, hey, can you help me start an IV on my patient? Instead of saying, no, I suck, you don't want to ask me, I would say, I'd love the opportunity to practice my skills. That changed my mindset so much, and I stopped having anxiety about starting IVs. When I realized I don't have to be perfect as a beginner, I just have to step up to the challenge and try my best. My last tip for decreasing anxiety is to talk it out. Now, there's a lot of times where we are thinking so many things, we have 5 million tabs open, and it causes so much anxiety within us. It's always a great option to try and talk some of those emotions out and to get a second opinion. Now, this doesn't always have to be done in a professional, like mental health setting with like a counselor or an advisor. Sometimes this can be done with your fellow new nurse peers, with your preceptor, other peers on your unit, or even your friends and family. But I always advise that you talk to someone who is open-minded and open-hearted when you're talking to them about your issues as a new nurse and are going to give you good, honest, and positive feedback, because that means so much to you as a new nurse. Make sure you avoid negative people that are going to be negative and say rude or mean things, because you don't need any of that negativity in your life. But you want to be around people that are going to encourage you to continue to try, and that are going to encourage you to make good decisions for yourself and for your career, and that are also open-minded to listening to what you have to say. And that's why I highly encourage you to join a new nurse community and talk to other new nurses, because you may realize that something that you are so stressed about is very common with new nurses, and you can always talk to another new nurse to get a new perspective on that idea or on that concept to kind of see how they are handling it. Either way, no matter who you decide to talk to, talking to other people is going to help you get the feedback that you need to let out all that stress and anxiety and to decrease your overall stress levels. Thanks for joining me for today's quick chat. I hope that you enjoyed all of the tips and tricks that I went over. Comment down below something new that you learned today, and I look forward to seeing you guys in the next one.